So this is a follow-up to my most recent video where I talked about the corrupted luxury pack sale that's going to be happening on the March 13th, 2023. And in this video, I'm going to focus more on talking about the use case for all the new NFTs, whether I think they're worth it or not, and my speculations on what the secondary market resale value could be on some of these new NFTs. Now, it's just pure speculations. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm really just sharing my thoughts, and maybe you'll just find them interesting or informative. So that's all that is. So one thing I do want to remind you of is that the corrupted luxury pack will cost $350, and it's just going to give you one NFT if you decide to open it. It has a significantly higher chance of it being a luxury storage than it does being an ancient corrupted stand. And the ancient corrupted stands are going to be the high value items with the highest utility. But first, I'm going to talk about the luxury storages. So if you get a luxury storage from your pack, unfortunately, you basically did not win. So these storages do have some utility in game. They'll store a lot of items to help you just stack up items that you may need for the meta that you're working for. Of all these storages, 3 in particular are the most useful that you will probably use every single game. That's going to be the luxury energy storage, luxury wood storage, and the luxury oak wood storage. I can foresee that you will probably use these resources in every game since they're pretty general resources that you use for building most buildings anyways. So it is nice to have a dedicated storage for them to hold a large amount in. As for some of these other storages, such as milk storage and sugar storage, you may use those in most metas, but not all the metas, so they are moderately helpful. Of course, there are other small capacity storage variants of them as well, which you may already own just from playing the game. You may have already gotten those for free, so that may kind of lower the value and the special unique factor of those luxury storages. Now there's also the other luxury storages that you probably will never use. That's the luxury cake storage, luxury uniform storage, and luxury mineral storage. Cake 1 stores all types of cakes, and the mineral 1 stores limestone and chromium. Now the problem with these storages is that these are items that you won't be using every single meta, just some specific metas, and that's the problem. So that means there are storages that you really won't be using a lot. The other problem is the luxury cake storage. They just recently had an epic cake storage that holds 60, and that one was only $50, and most people really did not even buy that one, and the ones that did, they are not going to use it all the time, to be honest. So I think out of all these storages, the luxury cake storage would be the least valuable, and the most valuable, if I had to pick, would probably be the luxury energy storage, because I do like the idea of being able to save up to 150 energy in one single storage. That way you can use that energy for building all your buildings whenever you need to build them. As far as the secondary market value goes on all these storages, I would say anywhere between $150 to $200. The low end would probably be the luxury cake storage. The high end, well, most of these will probably be on the high end of $200. And yes, if you notice, that's way under $350. I just really don't think most of these storages will truly pay off. So basically, you get a storage, you're essentially losing value to what you purchased. That's just my speculation right there. I really don't see these storages really being a game changer in your game. And that's all I got for the storages. So now I'm going to go more into the interesting NFTs, which are the ancient corrupted stands. And for each one, I am going to reference the Town Guide EU visualizer and the Townstar playbook. So I'm going to start off with the corrupted cocoa stand. looking at the town guide visualizer, I have a setup for cocoa. Just pretend that these ancient bitroot wheat stands are actually the corrupted stands that I'm referencing. As the ancient bitroot wheat stands are basically the same thing. They give up to an effect of 6 of whatever they're giving out. The ancient bitroot wheat stand would be up to 6 passive wheat. So just pretend that's cocoa, and the same goes for all these other ones, just so I don't have to mention that all the time. So for cocoa, you can actually craft chocolate using cocoa. And basically that's the only craft you can do right now. And I'm going to double check that on the Townstar playbook. So right here, cocoa can be used to craft chocolate bars in chocolate shops, and it requires 3 cocoa. So right here is just set up for trying to put as many chocolate shops as possible that have 3 passive cocoa. And this just gives you a general idea of how many chocolate shops you can have with this passive ability. Now, as for this stand in particular, I really don't think it's that useful. Chocolate can be used in some other crafts, but it's not something you craft in most metas from what I've noticed. So chocolate could be used in fancy cakes, decorated cake, or chocolate covered strawberries. But really, this isn't going to be a stand that you use that often, so I really don't think it's a very valuable one. So next I'm going to talk about the Cabernet grapes. The Cabernet grape stand. So with Cabernet grapes, you could craft Cabernet Sauvignon. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But you basically understand what I'm saying. Cabernet wine. So Cabernet wine requires 5 Cabernet grapes. So you can have a setup like this running this many wineries. And I'm going to just double check this on the Townstar playbook right here. Cabernet grapes. Craft Cabernet wine in the winery using 5 Cabernet grapes. Now, the cool thing about Cabernet Sauvignon is you can also use that to craft sangria. So it is an item that goes into another item. So as for this stand, it is pretty good. One of the best ones, but not the best one. As far as the grapes go, I think it is the best one out of the grape stands because it can craft something that can go into something higher. Now moving on to the Chardonnay grape stand. So Chardonnay grapes is used in Chardonnay wine, and Chardonnay wine need 3 Chardonnay grapes, which I will double check right here. Chardonnay crafted in the winery using 3 Chardonnay grapes. Now, Chardonnay cannot be used to craft anything else, so that's as high as it goes. And to be honest, Chardonnay really doesn't sell for as much as the other wines. If you were to try to do a setup where it's just a bunch of Chardonnay wines, it does take up a lot of wineries. So at the moment, at least in the current version of the game, where nothing else is being crafted that utilizes Chardonnay wine, this is probably the least useful stand out of all of them, because really this is all you can do with it. So just to say it now, out of all the corrupted stands, I believe that this one is the least valuable. So moving on to Pinot Noir grapes. Pinot Noir wine takes 6 grapes to make, so you can have a setup with this with just 8 buildings. That's really not a lot of buildings, but the good thing is you really don't need to build a lot of wineries. Wineries can get expensive, so even in a Pinot Noir wine build, this is actually pretty nice. This is actually pretty helpful. So I'm going to double check it on the Townstar playbook right here. Just have to find Pinot Noir grape right there. So it crafts Pinot Noir in the winery using 6 Pinot Noir grapes, and Pinot Noir wine is as high as it goes. Nothing else goes into that. Now the nice thing about Pinot Noir wine is it actually sells for a high amount, a really good amount actually. So that could make a good amount of money. The only disadvantage is you really can't have that many wineries with full passive Pinot Noir grapes, as I show you right here. So it is gonna get pretty, you are gonna have a limit to how much you can make. This stand is in the middle of all of them, and in terms of how useful I think it is. Yes, of course, just like the Chardonnay one, it could become more valuable in the future if the wine that comes out of it is used in another craft. But in the current version of the game, this one is just fine. It's okay. You can use it to do this specific meta to create Pinot Noir wine and sell it for a good amount. But if it wasn't the meta, I'm not even sure if it would be worth it even. But overall, this stand is okay. It's in the middle. Moving on to the Peppermint Stand. So the peppermint is actually used in a couple of crafts. Right here is a setup where it's used on candy canes, and I also included power plants in this because with these amount of power plants, you can actually have full energy for all the candy shops. Candy canes require 5 energy on top of the 3 peppermint. So I'm going to double check that in the Town Star playbook. I'm going to look for peppermint, and that is right here. So peppermint is used to craft 2 items right now: candy canes in the candy shop that requires 3 peppermints, and enchanted objects in the Master Wizard that also requires 3 peppermint. Now candy canes you will probably craft a lot of. Actually, it really completely depends on the meta. It really depends on the meta. In most builds you actually don't make candy canes. Candy canes actually only ever go to decorated cakes and boom canes. So that's the only place we've seen candy canes so far. But the other spot we see, the other thing we could use peppermint for is enchanted objects. Now enchanted objects, I believe, they only go into the rocking horse, that's right. So overall, peppermint has a limited amount of uses. I do see some people using peppermint alongside their candy shop NFT, the lolly and pop shops. And then you could also, you'll just need a way to craft sugar and then have enough way and have a way to supply passive energy to it, and you could set up a candy cane rush. I don't see it being very effective, but it is something you can do. Overall, I would say this corrupted stand, the peppermint stand, is in the middle of all of them, moderate value. But moving on to the pumpkin one. So pumpkin will let you make pumpkin pie, but it'll also let you make another craft, I believe jack-o'-lanterns, and I can double check that on the Town Star playbook real quick. So I'm going to jump around here. Correct. Okay. So pumpkins can be used to create pumpkin pie in the cakery that costs 6 pumpkins, basically the full effect of the stand. It can be used to craft jack-o'-lanterns in the pottery shop, requiring only 1 pumpkin, and magic powder with Master Wizard that also only requires 1 pumpkin. So you could have a huge range for jack-o'-lanterns and magic powder. But as for pumpkin pie, it's actually a pretty small range right here, only being able to supply the tiles directly next to it with 6 passive pumpkins. So this would allow you to have, say, 8 cakeries like this with full passive pumpkin. And I know some people really like Pumpkin Pie Rush. It's pretty decent money. I really don't think it's the best rush out there, but I see the stand being slightly higher than moderate value. It is very nice to be able to have all the pumpkins that you need for basically any build. Really, this stand will cover all your it'll cover all your pumpkin needs in just about any meta currently in the game. And the problem with pumpkin is that it requires 10 water, and it actually does take quite a while to grow. So I do see this stand being very useful, being above the middle of what I think all the stands are, but still not the best. I do see this one being maybe in the number 4 list of all the corrupted stands. So moving on, this is going to showcase both the Chromium and Limestone corrupted stands. Just pretend this one can either be Chromium or Limestone. And basically what you can do with that is supply all the Chromium or all the Limestone that you need to craft wine bottles or molten glass. There are some other items that require Limestone as well. So first of all, let's go to the Townstar playbook and double check Chromium. I will check Chromium first. Used to craft wine bottle requires 1 Chromium. Molten glass requires 2 Chromium. They're both crafted in the glass factory. Wine bottle is used in all wine crafts, so it is very well used. Not in every build, but just in wine builds specifically. Molten glass is used on some of the newer crafts for the Christmas crafts, such as lights and enchanted objects. So it's not something that we've really made too much in the game so far, and probably uncommon, something you probably won't make that often unless they release new crafts for this in the future. But overall, still this stand is going to be one of the best ones. Both of these, both Chromium and Limestone will be one of the best ones, with Limestone probably being slightly better. Limestone can be used to craft wine bottles, molten glass, and mystic matter. So Limestone actually is used in 3 crafts. All 3 crafts only need 1 Limestone. And really the amazing thing of having passive Chromium and Limestone is that they're actually a tier 3 resource. They actually take quite a while to make and actually sell for a good amount individually. Crafting Chromium or Limestone costs lumber for every single one, so essentially you're saving a lot of wood from having to craft them, and you're saving mine space from placing mines basically. So if theoretically, if you had both stands, both a Chromium and Limestone corrupted stand, you basically have all the Chromium and Limestone that you need for your build, and you're not going to need a mountain unless you need iron for the build that you're making. However, there is another NFT that can help with that. That's the legendary Style and Ride or the epic Style and Ride. Those give passive iron. So if you were to also have that, you basically have all the minerals in the game full passive, and you wouldn't need a mountain, which is insane to think about. So both of these stands are, I would say, tied for the top 2. If I really had to pick, I would say Limestone is the best corrupted stand in the game, with Chromium being in 2nd place. I do think these are the most powerful stands. I do need to talk about one more, and that is the Silica Stand. So that puts Silica Stand in 3rd on the list. And this stand is used to provide passive silica, and there are 2 crafts that use silica: wine bottles and molten glass. So in this one, I'm essentially showing both. Molten glass requires 4 passive silica, and wine bottles require 3 passive silica. So you actually have a wider range when it comes to wine bottles. So just double checking on the playbook. Used to craft wine bottle requires 3 silica, molten glass requires 4 silica, both in the glass factory. And so the cool thing about this is that silica is normally crafted in sand mines, and sand mines are usually a red timer unless you are in a desert biome, you're near an ocean, or you're near a desert edge. You would have the sand mine near the ocean edge or desert edge, or anywhere if you're playing in a desert biome, and then it would have a green timer. But if you don't have any of that, you are stuck with red timer sand mines. So with this stand, you don't have to deal with sand mines at all. You're just gonna have full passive silica, all the passive silica you could want, and you're not gonna have to worry about getting the right biome to have green timer sand mines, which is amazing. However, silica is actually not that hard to craft. Assuming you had green timer sand mines, it's really not that hard to craft. But even with that in mind, that's why I would say this is one of the best corrupted stands. Like I said, I would rate it the 3rd best out of all of them. So one amazing thing you could do is, if you had a Chromium, Limestone, and Silica stand, you could actually put them all together since they all work for the same crafts. All of them together can allow you to have all the items you need to craft wine bottles and molten glass passively, which seems really broken. It's super insane that you can do that. That enables people to execute a wine bottle rush, which would be a ton of money, possibly more money than anything else in the game. And yeah, I think that's crazy, but you would need what I consider the top 3 corrupted stands in the game. So I'm going to go over all the stands again, what I would rate them from best to worst, and then kind of speculate on what the resale values would be. First place best stand is the Limestone one. Second place Chromium. Third place Silica. Fourth place Pumpkin. Fifth place Cabernet Grapes. Sixth place, I would say Pinot Noir Grapes. Seventh place Peppermint. Eighth place Cocoa. And ninth place Chardonnay Grapes. So that's how I would rate them. As for speculating on their resale value, these stands can range, I would say, anywhere from $300 to $1,000. Of course, I could be completely wrong. The top 3 stands that I mentioned here, they could be way more. Who knows, right? I would say, based on how I rated them, the least valuable one being the Chardonnay grape stand, somewhere around $300. Yes, that's even less than $350. That's just my speculation because I don't think that stand really is worth it. It's not that powerful, at least not in the current version of the game. As for the most powerful one here, I would say the Limestone stand, easily worth near $1,000. That's my speculation. With Chromium and Silica not too far behind, also being worth maybe close to $1,000 as well. So that's my speculation, all my thoughts, everything I could share. You would be lucky to have any of these stands, honestly. You might not use them in every single game, but on the competitions that you do use them, they would be a ton of help. You'd probably have a lot of fun and really enjoy using them. If you do decide to purchase one of these packs, I wish you the best of luck. Like, really, if you get any stand, you're a winner. Yes, even if you get that Chardonnay grape stand, you're probably still a winner. It could be worth more than what I think it is. But if you get the storage, you know, I don't know. So I wish you the best of luck if you decide to buy one of these. Now there is one more NFT that I need to talk about before I end this. That's the rare pottery shop, which is going to be given out on the purchase of every luxury pack you decide to buy. So you are getting a guaranteed NFT. Now the rare pottery shop is immune to dirty. That's really cool. It works for less wages and the movement speed is slightly faster. This NFT, it's pretty good, but it's not necessary for some people. For me personally, I don't care for it. But for people that don't have any NFTs, this one is useful. You'll be able to have the rare pottery shop next to the power plant, and you'll be able to provide passive energy to it. And it'll still be green timer since it's immune to dirty, whereas the regular pottery shop would be red timer because it doesn't like dirty. So that's a really nice perk to have. Some people who already have some NFTs, such as myself, can find another way to kind of get over this. The cheapest option would be using the Orb of Hope NFT that removes the dirty to the tiles next to it. So you could just have an Orb of Hope next to a regular pottery shop and have multiple green timer pottery shops that way. You could also supply passive energy another way, such as by building a nuclear power plant in the game. That method does not require any NFTs, which is nice. Or you could use NFTs such as a rare solar panel to provide all the energy to it. So there are other ways to get green timer pottery shops even without this NFT. So in essence, it's a good NFT, but not essential for everybody. As for My speculation on resale value for this NFT, I hear some people saying $100. Honestly, I'm saying at least $50. I think this will resell for about $50. At the very least $50. It could go up to 100, but I'm going to say about $50 on OpenSea or the secondary market. That's what this NFT is going to go for. And that is all the NFTs that come from this NFT sale. I've done my best to talk about them. I know this video is long. I just kept talking, sharing my thoughts. But hey, hopefully it helped you out. Hopefully you found it interesting. If you watched this whole video, you're awesome. I do my best to try to keep this short and organized, but I just had a lot to discuss on this video. So that's all I have. Consider liking the video if you found it informative. Leave a comment on what you think is the best corrupted stand, or which one you think is the worst. Same thing goes for the storages, but the storages really aren't that interesting, are they? Consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of my future content. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you for watching.